Hello, welcome to Go See Gail. This is episode 5 of Why God Doesn't Want Me to Bartend Anymore. And from bartending all these different places, I realized that it's not that God doesn't want me to bartend anymore. It's that he wants me to bartend at places that are a little more upscale, because the music of today, the music that the kids like today is just so not my style, and it's everywhere. So it's like either I have bad taste or they have bad taste. I don't know what it is, but it's just like, I'm just not into the yeah, you know. Some of it, you know, but I just like old school rap, you know. And it's just everywhere. But it didn't stop me from still applying to this next bar that had a lot of that music. But I felt like when I first went into this bar, I got the interview, I got, you know, let's try you out, because they're like, this bar has a lot going on, so we like to try our bartenders out to see if it's like a fit. And so in my mind, I was like 50-50 on it. I liked that it was a neighborhood bar, I liked that it was kind of close by, and I knew I could get people in. But it had issues, so we're gonna talk about it. So the thing that bothered me first, not that bothered me, but it was like, they had all these upscale whiskeys, you know, like $500 whiskeys. And they had this big long list of whiskeys that if somebody ordered a certain kind, you'd have to, like, you know, go into this weird whiskey closet and get on a ladder, like a janky ladder, and like find the whiskey and like get the codes. And it was just, you know, tricky. And then, but it was also like kind of like a dive bar that played like yeah music. So it's just like, well, what are you gonna be? You know, are you gonna be like yeah and draft beer, or are you gonna be like uppity sipping? You're gonna be uppity sipping fancy whiskey for $500. Like, what do you want to be? I just felt like that bar rescue guy where I'm like, you can't be both, man. You got to pick one, you know, or just figure out a way to sell your upscale whiskey. But I just felt that to be challenging. And so the first night I trained, it was dead. I think I made like 5 drinks all night, and I was like, well, I'll build it up. You know, I said that at the last bar, but this is different. They had normal hours, not 11 to 4. So I knew I could build it up if I actually did get that shift. But it was quiet, so I learned stuff, but not a whole lot. And then I didn't work again for a full week, you know, and then I trained during the day with this really nice, cute Asian girl. And again, it was dead until 5, and then it got busier for trivia. And so that was cool. And then it got busy, and I started to learn stuff, and that was cool, but still didn't learn like a ton of stuff, just learn things. And I do remember talking to her about applying for the place. When I sat down for the interview, I sat down with 3 Persian owners and 1 manager, and they grilled me for 45 minutes. And it was nothing that I was afraid of, because I've been doing this forever. So it's like, I know what my weaknesses are, I know what my strengths are. And so whatever they asked me, I was like, yeah, I know how to handle that. Yeah, I would do that. And so I got stumped once, but like really, it was fine. But I talked to her about my interview, and she's like, oh, that's funny, they didn't even put me on, or they didn't like put me in an interview, they just put me on. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, that made me feel so good, you know, like they have to grill this old lady, you know what I mean? And it made me think of Mommy Dearest, when they had to give her a screen test, you know, like there's a scene where the lady that runs the house, like her maid or whatever, was telling her daughter, like, she's freaking out because she has to take a screen test.
They're making your mother take a screen test. Do you know what that is?
And I'm not sure they want you.
And you know how shameful that is for her.
You know how shameful that is for her. But the thing is, after she took that screen test and after she made that movie, she got the Academy Award.
Of you.
So don't count us old ladies out, okay? Yeah. So so that kind of annoyed me. And then I was thinking, I'm not too old to bartend. I'm in my 40s, you know. I'm thinking about Barney, Billy, and Schaefer and Mike Dodd's even bartending. I'm just naming off names of bartenders that I know. Notice how I didn't mention any girls, because I'm not going to mention girls and how old they are. I'm not going to do that. But guys don't care. But yeah, there's like lots of older bartenders all over Los Angeles. So, and then I think about the manager. He was 33 years old, you know, and I felt like he was like, oh, she's like, because it didn't work out. I'm jumping the gun here. It didn't work out. But I'm thinking like I know I'm a little blind, you know, I have to like put my glasses on when I put, because I have my cute glasses and then I wear the ones that I actually need for reading, and I have to put them on when I look at the register. And yeah, like when I was going over the register, it was the Toast register, the same, or the Toast POS system, same POS system that I had to use over at the burger place, which gave me anxiety, but at least I wasn't running food. I was just doing, you know, drinks. But still, it's small print and you have to like find things, but it wasn't as hard as the doing all the burgers and everything. So, but it was still like every now and then I would just be looking at things. They thought that I was like, they were watching me so hard with the like Big Brother, and I'll get into that I think in a minute. They were watching me on the cameras a lot because there's 3 owners and a manager. And at times I would just be looking at the register because you want to get familiar with the register and where the drinks are. And I think that they thought that I was like looking for things. And yeah, I was at certain times, but at other times when I had downtime, I would just look at the register. So, because they were like, you're really looking at the register a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get to know it because I'm new here. Like in Monday night, there was nobody here. And then Monday day, there was nobody here for 5 hours. And then we got slammed. It's just, that's another thing. Like the way that they were watching me a lot, like Big Brother. The one day after the second time I was training, the one owner was like, you were talking to this one guy for like a really long time, but not the other guys. And I'm like, yeah, but the other guys had people with them. So usually when people have people with them and they sit and they chop it up, they don't need you, unless you can feel it when a customer needs you. You can just feel them like, oh, she's gonna talk to me. I really want to talk to her. I really want to talk now. You can just feel it. But you can feel it when people are casually just kicking it, having their beers, looking at their phones and doing whatever they're doing. My friend Paul, I know him from 2 different bars that I've worked at, was just like telling me stories and stuff. So I just sat there and talked to Paul because he's a talker. But to have someone be like, you talked to him for too long, like, dude, just teach me how to run things here and I'll do my bartending the way I do my bartending. I wouldn't have survived as long as I have if I didn't do it the way I do it. You know what I mean? But why are you looking for a job, Gail? Because I quit the last job that was working. I quit. I didn't get fired. I was good enough to never be fired. I hope she was never gonna fire me. But like, I never really had a problem with bartending like I am having right now, but I'm not really having problems with it. I still know that I'm a very good bartender is what I'm trying to say. And I know if people catch on to these videos, they're gonna be like, but you need a job now, but you need a job now. You're right, I do. But it doesn't mean I'm not good at what I do, because I know that I'm good at what I do. So that happened. Oh, and then I suck at kegs. Like, I suck at changing kegs. That was always a thing with me. And this place had tons of draft beer. Not a big deal. I just told them that's just something I'm not great at. The last time I did kegs was the Sugar Sweet in Granada Hills when I was in my early 30s. And I remember when I interviewed with them, they were like, do you have any weaknesses? And I said, yeah, I suck at changing kegs. And they're like, we don't have kegs. I'm like, then I don't have any weaknesses, you know? And so they hired me because they thought, ooh, she's good. But later on, at like a year and a half in, they put kegs in and I had to like learn how to change kegs. Not a big deal. They would just explode on me all the time. And then the guys at the bar were always, I was like, no, do it this way and pull it up that way. And they would scream at me. And one of my biggest pet peeves is I hate when people scream at me. So I would just be like, you know, Daryl, get back here, change the keg, I'll buy you a beer. And I'm just not dealing with it. And that's just how I dealt with it, and nobody cared. Beers were $5 back then, so nobody cared. But when when the manager was, when he was changing the keg for me to show me, because I hadn't changed a keg in so long, when he was showing me how to do it, it exploded all over him. And it's funny because I was like, that's just what happens to me every time I deal with kegs. They just explode. And I felt like I looked at it and it exploded. He's like, that never happens. Oh my God, it's all over me and beer's all over me and got in my mouth. And he doesn't drink, and he hadn't had a drink in like 3 years. I take my sobriety so seriously. And I was just like, that sucks. Like, I feel like he thinks that, like, and I felt like a witch because I felt like I just looked at it and went, you know? So I'm like, he's probably thinks I'm some evil, weird witch that ruined his sobriety with a drop of beer that flung into his mouth. But I just tried to tell him, it's not your fault and you didn't break your sobriety. But that kind of thing happened to my friend Valerie. My friend Valerie runs AA sometimes, or she's like in AA. And she was doing like a year thing, like when you're sober for a year, they have like a party for you, or they all go to dinner or something. They take like they really make it a special day when you have your first year sober. And this lady that it was her like 1 year sober thing, she came in and she had a bottle of kombucha with her, like when she came to the meeting, and they're like, is that kombucha? That has alcohol in it. Like you have to start over. How long have you been drinking kombucha? And she's like, always? And they're like, you have to start over. That's why I can't go to AA, because you're telling me I can't have kombucha, like, get out of here, man. Like, that's just stupid. That stuff is to help clean you out. That's good stuff. It's good for you. Probiotics, lots of probiotics in there. So AA, that's for the birds. I mean, I'm proud of you if you're in AA, but you can't have kombucha. That's just weird. But so yeah, so okay, so I'm already like I'm fine. Everything's good. I was doing my best. Everything's cool. They you know, I worked on a Wednesday. I think I did pretty well. You know, you still have to learn a lot of things, but you know, I'm getting everything as best I can. But they threw me in the fire on a Friday night. They were like, you're gonna, you know, Friday night it gets really busy, and you know, I was like, okay, you're gonna work with another person, and then it won't be that hard. If you're working with another person, it's always good, you know. And it wasn't that busy. Like, I was like, is this what busy is? She's like, it gets really busy. This isn't too busy, but last Friday was really dead. So I was like, okay, well, cool. Well, then we'll just rock and roll. And so, but let me just take it back a little bit. That's what the girl said that I was working with. When I first came in on Friday night for my shift, weird vibes. And I couldn't understand what the weird vibes were all about. I was just like, this is weird, what's going on? And the manager just kept looking at me like, he just had this anxious look to him, you know? And he's young, he's in his mid-30s or early 30s, you know? So I can read energy better than younger people. So I don't know if he could tell that I could just read it on him, but he just looked like freaked out, you know? And so I was like, okay, just wait here, you know? And then the other bartender came on, and then I just see her run in the bathroom, and I'm like, okay. And he's like, that's Amber, that's the girl, but you'll meet her in a minute. I'm like, okay. And then we just come on and we talk, she and I, and I'm like, I'm Gail, how are you? Like, yay, it's cool. Like, oh, I love your red hair. Cool, we're both redheads. It's gonna be hot. And but she looked genuinely pissed, you know. But then she wasn't mean to me, but she was pissed. And here's why. They told the guy that works with her normally to come in a half hour early because they needed to talk a little bit. And then they fired him. So, you know, think about coming to your shift and you see your regulars when you come in, and people just put a big display and fire you in front of your friends and regulars. There's something about that I find to be very cruel. Unless he did something awful, and I don't think he did. I didn't hear anything. I'm like, well, what did he do? And that's what I was talking to the girl later on. I'm like, what did he do? She's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really, there wasn't anything specific. I didn't know about it, obviously, so I don't know what he did specifically, you know? So, so that puts a damper on people that come to the bar to see him. It puts a damper on the bar because she's upset. Her friend's not working with her anymore, and she had no idea. She was totally blindsided, like in Big Brother. Places like Big Brother. And then I come in and all bad vibes. So I'm like, well, cool. My whole philosophy is like, you got good vibes, you will make money, you know? And I'm coming into bad vibes and upset people, and not a cool way to let somebody go. And but I trucked on through, and I just put a smile on my face and kept going. And I'm a little blind and still with the computer and everything, but I felt like I handled everything else well. But the anxiety level was very high, and I could not get comfortable. And I kind of knew that this bar probably isn't for me. You know, I just kind of felt like I don't like that. I know that there are times when stuff happens and you just got to cut people. But when you tell people to specifically come in and then fire them in front of their friends and blindside them that way, I don't know. I think that's cruel. I think a text or a phone call would have been nicer. Yeah, and then also the girl that I worked with, you know, these guys kept telling me about how they want the owners were telling me how they want the customers to have like a beautiful experience. We just want people to feel at home and comfortable and loving and whiskey and happiness and good vibes and all that. And this girl, she was screaming at the top of her lungs for like 30 minutes straight, like, shut the F up, shut the F up, shut the F up. Ah. And then one guy was like mad at her because she was screaming at him, and he's like, you're racist. Like, I'm not racist. I can understand that from the first video. Remember that? So I was like, I know how you feel. I know how you feel about that. So I was trying to bond with her, but she's screaming at him and get out. Rah! And there was a few times where she's like, don't tell the owners, but I do this. Don't tell the owners, but I do that. And the only reason I'm not ratting anyone out, because I'm not like telling anyone what this bar is, but people probably find out eventually. But they didn't keep me on, you know? And he said, well, some of the bartenders were saying things, and I'm thinking, this girl told me about 4 different things, like, don't tell them I do this, don't tell them I do that, don't tell them I do this. And at the end of the night, it's get the F out, get the F out, get the F out. Instead of doing like a casual, like at 1:20, like last call, maybe 1:30, last call. And then like, we got 20 minutes. It's like, no more beers, it's only 15 minutes. And like, now we're only doing shots, close out your tabs. And there's a way to do it instead of just telling everyone. There are bars all over Los Angeles, right? So people can go anywhere. They came to your bar and you're just screaming at them to get the F out. I know that there are times when it gets like that where you, and maybe this is the first time she ever did that. I don't know. That's not the way I do it. That's really not the way I've ever done it. And I've had my moments where I have, but that's really not my thing. And she did say, well, you know, my coworker normally is the one that gets them out, and he does that. And she said to me, I think that they think that I'm not gonna kick them out, so I have to be like him and I have to yell at them the way he did. And I'm like, didn't he just get fired today? Maybe learn from his mistakes, perhaps? I don't know. I mean, who am I? They didn't keep me on either, but I don't know, live and learn, right? I used a tambourine. That's what I used to do. When I would want to get people out of the bar, I would hit the tambourine. I'd be like, I know you can't hear me. It was really annoying, but they would just pretend like they couldn't hear me. I lost 2 tambourines. Thanks, Todd Tira. He took one of them. They used to put them in the fire, but I didn't know where they were. I would look all over, but they would put them in the fire. So I lost 2 tambourines because I used them for last call. So that's the story. It didn't work out so great there, but I'm glad I'm not working there. I knew they had a good day crowd, and I was really excited about that. But moving on, I'm glad I'm not there. And moving on, and I am training at another place to fill in. I'm doing weddings, and that's going well. And I'm gonna still do bartender stories, but I think that God doesn't want me to bartend anymore is done. This is episode 5. Thank you for staying with me 18 minutes. Thank you for staying with me. My friend Kahan's here helping me too, so he helps me edit stuff and helps me figure things out. I'm talking too much. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, guys, please. I'm gonna talk about all kinds of stuff. And yeah, just go see Gail and come back and see us again. See you soon. Bye.